Good almost afternoon, you guys. So we didn't end up vlogging yesterday. We drove home. Well, so we had appointments. Then from there we went to IKEA to grab the meatballs, had lunch, and then left Portland. And then just until Hood River, I started getting a migraine. So we stopped off to get some caffeine. And then we just came home. Lex ended up having to come home from school yesterday because her leg was leaking really bad. So they want us to keep it dry so it can, you know, do its thing, and yet it won't do it. So sorry if it's dark. I'm going upstairs and I forgot the fan was on high. So it's kind of loud. And I literally just forgot why I came up here. Oh, bobby pin. Anyway, so we got home. The kids were, of course, happy to see us. And I think they just wanted what we got them. And so we got the car unpacked and then took it back, grabbed some stuff for dinner. I just wanted salad, so that's what Lex, Anthony, and I had. Let's see, hopefully that works. Anyway, so I didn't notice him first. Talked to Tina because she's having surgery today, and I was gonna vlog, and all of a sudden I couldn't find the vlogging camera, the brand new one we bought. Yeah, that did nothing. And so I started looking for it. Then the OCD kicked in. Then I couldn't find it. Then I freaked out because that's, you know, quite a bit of money to just kind of have come up missing. Turns out I guess I don't own any hairspray. You say that and obviously it was a lie. Okay, it sprays. Anyway, and so we all kind of were looking for it and couldn't find it. None of us. Like, Anthony couldn't, and Anthony was like 100% sure it was in the house. No, it wasn't. I was like, and then you get to that point where you're like, pretty sure I grabbed it. I grabbed it. And then I was like, oh, I grabbed it with this stuff. Well, I found that stuff, and no. There. I hate flyaways. It's like ones that are just too short to get into the bun. Sorry for you guys get too close. I'm trying to do 12 things at once. I'm gonna have to take a chisel to get my hair back out. This is probably the first time I've used hairspray in probably 8 years. Actually, Kayla used hairspray on me when she was doing my hair for the photo shoot. But yeah, and so we looked, kind of tore up the front room because I knew it couldn't have been any further than that, because we really didn't go very far in the house. We just kind of unpacked it. I opened the mail from when we were gone. Stuff is falling. And then got ready to go to return the car. And it was a little weird. I'm not gonna take my purse, and so yeah. Oh, you just scared the holy tar out of me. Yeah, So Anthony went over this morning. Do you have a hairball, kitty? To Enterprise and found it on the seat. I think that's empty. So yay. Got left in the car. What's up?
I'm home for what?
You're always home. You're knocking stuff over.
I know.
So, yeah. What? I thought she said she was needed in her 6th period. Anyway, so good on us. Screwed up, left it in the car. Okay, not Joni. And then today I'm headed to some stuff with Joni, and she has to go before a jury, and so I have to drive her because she's not in a good spot to drive yet, especially after having that scary stroke. I would love to discuss more, but that's her business and I'm not going to tell you. But she's just had a really trying time. So, you know, whoever you guys believe in, you know, send up some prayers for Joni. She needs it because she's dealing with this, she's dealing with that. And, you know, I'd love to help her, but there's only so much I can do. Also, I'd love to just be able to take all the bullshit away from her, so she didn't have to deal with it. She's someone who deserves not to have to deal with it. So I just had to leave school with Lex because actually the kid who's sitting outside decided to kick her in the wound, and so it busted it open. And so we took her over to talk to the principal after I had her go home. Sorry you guys, I'm trying to drive. Because try to pick a gear here. Because it was bleeding, and then when I came in and I double checked it, why is it clicking?
Just go with it.
Yeah, the bandage was firmly glued to her wound. So yeah. I don't know why they waved us on. They were there first. I could have waited. So we'll see what the school does, and after everything that happened with the other kid she was dating, I want to hold out hope, but that situation didn't go anywhere either. But he seems to have left her alone also.
Oh, Mr. Evans!
Who's that?
My ex-social studies teacher.
Oh, okay. So I'm hoping that it'll be okay.
But so cute. You should turn that off before I say something.
Alrighty then. I'll put you right there. I'm assuming you can hear me. Or not. There we go. Alrighty then. I haven't done this in a bit. So, this is all going to be B-real at this point. So, let's be real. Anyway. So, I am heading to my practicum. Well, okay, there you went. I am heading to my practicum. If you can't tell, you're behind the steering wheel. Hello again. And... Hi. Okay, maybe that's not the best place for it. I wonder how this is going to go over. Probably not well. figure this out. Anyway, no, I probably shouldn't do that. Maybe. No. There has to be a way. Do you know the way? The kids will at least get a kick out of that. Oh, wait a minute. Nope, that won't work. Nope, nope, nope. Ah. That was funny. That would be perfect, but that won't work either. Yes. Way to figure that. That's not gonna work. Uh-oh, something's clicking. Let's just go with no. Okay. I'm here at Oddfellows. Get ready to go in and do my practicum. I haven't had a chance to see this building. This building is amazing. So, give me a quick outside view. So here's the assisted living, if I remember correctly. And then we got the bocce ball court. That's the one I'm usually playing around on. Then we've got the old building over here. Let's see if I can get you a good view of this. Here's the gondola area, but look at this building. Isn't this beautiful? Great old work, and then over there is long-term care. So anyway, let's go inside and see what they have for me to do today, huh? I'm telling you, this place is awesome. Okay, so today did not go exactly as planned. Make sure that's out of gear. But I got done what I not necessarily wanted to do, but what I could prior to the headache setting in. Okay, should probably preface this a little bit better. I suffer from migraines. And I don't know why. I've never had them caused from heat. Some people have said it's been from heat. Never had that happen before. Doesn't necessarily mean it's not true. Doesn't necessarily mean that it is. Oh, wow. Yeah, let's try it there and see what happens. So I mean, I guess it's feasible. I didn't think that was possible, but I've heard of stranger things causing them. Some people try to tell me it's because of my weight. It would be believable if I had high blood pressure, which I don't, at least in the times that it's been checked. Unless all of a sudden, I just turned on my blinker in a parking lot. Yeah, my head's on straight, I swear. Wait. Yeah, I want this way. Anyway. So I'm currently in a theological debate. Well, maybe theological debate isn't the best way to put that. Anyway, so I'm curious as to what faiths or religious preferences some of you guys belong to, if you're so inclined to put that out there. And remember, your faith is your own preference. No judgment, no matter what denomination you decide. You know, everybody has their own. There's nothing wrong with any of them. In this instance, I'm looking at the historical significance of Gilgamesh versus the Bible and how Noah fits into this whole mess. It's one of the most fascinating instances that I notice is Gilgamesh. It's 3,000 years prior to the birth of Jesus, so damn near the whole New Testament. But talks about the flood having already happened, and a lot of years have passed since then. Now, if that's the case, then why does the Bible, which its first recorded iteration wasn't even dated until, was it like 125 AD, was the one that they found, but it wasn't actually laid down. Even the Old Testament wasn't put down until I think 900 BC, and talks about it post tense, you know, after the fact. But it talks about it as though they were there. Now, with that being the case, oh, hey, calm down. Now, if that's the case, that means that the Bible had either inside information or it had a story that it carried over with it, which supports my theory that it actually is a collection of stories. Which is something that I've said for quite some time now, and that just keeps taking people off that read the Bible. It's not a collection of stories, it's divine law. It's like, okay, if it's divine law, then why do we have the same stories happening all over the place? You know? If it's divine law, how come ancient Egyptians had the same story? How come Norse folk have similar stories? How come Odin has a resurrection story very similar to Jesus? How come Horus has a very similar resurrection story to Jesus? Mind you, all of these people existed well before Jesus. Did Jesus exist? It's entirely possible there was a person named Jesus and he did exist. Did he believe himself to be of God? It's entirely feasible that he believed him. Really angry bumblebee. It's entirely feasible that somebody named Jesus believed himself to be of God and lived during that time period. Does that mean he did or didn't be of God, from God, for God, by the people, for the people? Oh wait, no, that's another. You know what I mean? Yes, it is entirely feasible. However, I'm not going to say that it's 100% truth. What I am going to say is it is a great collection of stories with some great morals to follow, and has some great things to teach, and is a great guidebook, especially for those who don't know where to go, who don't have any place to turn, who definitely can't figure stuff out on their own. You know, and even if you think you can figure out stuff on your own, you know what? Sometimes it doesn't hurt to, you know, refer to a manual every once in a while. Like, oh, yeah, should I, shouldn't I? Well, let's read on this. You know? Is it a good idea to, I don't know, what's one of the 10 Commandments? Quick, Charlton Heston, guide me. Oh. You know? I mean, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love that movie, and, you know, pretty sure somebody out there might watch this and go, you did not just. Yeah, well, I did. I'm sorry, Charlton Heston, as far as I'm concerned, is Moses. Yeah, NRA standing aside, Charlton Heston's pretty awesome. If nothing else, for that and Ben-Hur. But no, I mean, the Noah story itself, the flood story specifically, let's call it the flood story, not the Noah story, because he's not called Noah in Gilgamesh. The flood story exists all the way around the world. So from a historical standpoint, the flood had to happen. There is no way on the planet that everybody and their brother, from, you know, bush jumpers all the way to, you know, seal clubbers, all have this flood story, and there's not some kernel of truth to it. It's just not possible. You just can't, you know? But how is it that this old a story has ties 3,000 years before the birth of Jesus, and it having past tense happen? And then here comes a story in the Old Testament 1,000 years before the birth of Jesus, and goes, oh, here's how the flood went down. If this is not a collection of stories, it just wouldn't make sense. I mean, historically, it would not make sense. You know, and of course, you know, I have some people who are trying to tell me, oh, it's the truth. It might be the truth for them. You know, help them out of their dark place, which is fine. You know, no judgment there. Everybody needs, you know, some help sometime. Please don't start singing the song. But there are several that probably have lines similar, but as a guidepost, it's not a bad one. There were several versions and several iterations and several different paths to take. You know, it really bothered them. And in fact, they really start going after, one person in particular really started going after me as far as where did this originate, because I believe in Taoism. And, well, what era was that? Where did it come from? I'm like, it's an Eastern philosophy. Well, okay, well, what era was that? I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to actually look that up again. Okay, well, I'd love to get into this more, but I have to go. Oh, okay. I'm not sure why it would matter what era that came out of. Other than it sounds like they just wanted to argue and defend their friend, which I don't necessarily have too much of an issue with. The problem is, I think that's exactly what it ended up would have been. So I'm kind of glad they didn't stick around. But that's what usually ends up happening when I start dealing with Christians. And don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming all Christians. Because the same can be said for all faiths. wish that wasn't true. Everybody gets defensive when it comes to their faith. And every one of them wants me to put a label on mine. And when I won't, that's the thing that bugs them the most. Well, what do you believe? Oh, I believe there's a God. Okay, well, what faith? I have my own way of understanding things. And because I won't give them a label, I won't give them a church, I won't give them something that they can go after, some target, they get bent out of shape. They want something to go after. They want something to attack. They want something to go, well, mine's better than that, and here's why. And I think that's funny. And not necessarily because they don't have something to attack, but because they're looking for it. I'm not going out of my way to attack their faith. And I'm not telling them that they're wrong for having their faith. They, just like everybody else, is entitled to whatever faith they want to believe in. Heck, you know, I was talking to my daughter not too long ago about the flying spaghetti monster around the rings of Saturn. I mean, that has a full-on following in a church. There's a church of bacon, even. More power to them. You know? I don't hold it against them. There's a church of the fawns. Hey, thank you, Family Guy. You know, wherever you have your faith and draw your faith from, I don't necessarily have an issue with. How you handle yourself from it, that's where I start drawing my issue and my problem from. If you're drawing your faith and you're solid in your faith, and one of the first things you do is try to start telling everybody else why their faith is wrong, I don't think you're going about your faith the right way there, buddy. You know, I'm not going after their faith in their text as it being wrong. I am letting them know how I feel about their text. And if that bothers them, I apologize and agree not to talk about it with them anymore. You know, I've had a friend of mine, let's see, how did that go down? We were having a conversation about it, and I said Christian mythology was one of my favorites just because of some of the symbolism and some of the way that the stories flow. And he about came unhinged and said if I referred to it that way again, he would punch me in the face and I wouldn't have to worry about ever seeing him again. No uncertain terms, he let me know how he felt. You know, I apologized to him, but at the same time, I let him know, hey, you know, how I see things is how I see them. You know, don't try to influence how I see them. But at the same time, I'm not going to, you know, impose my will on you. I apologize if that offended you. It wasn't my intention. He proceeded to tell me how I was wrong. Needless to say, we don't have a whole lot of conversations anymore. Well, after that, we didn't have a lot of conversations about religion, if any. And not too long after that, I don't think we conversated anymore at all. Now that I think about it, I wonder how that guy's doing. I heard he had a baby. Anyway. Hopefully they're doing well. The point is, everybody has their own perception. Everybody has their own faith. everybody crafts their own narrative, okay? Your perception flavors your reality. In fact, it's the majority of your reality. In this life, we're all given the same amount of time. My time isn't any different than my kid's time, isn't any different than the bus driver's time, isn't any different than this truck driver's time, isn't any different than a judge's time, isn't any different than a professor's time, isn't any different than a cop's time. We all get the same measure of time every day. With that time, we get choices. But because of those choices, we're all influencing each other, either through advertising, through our decisions, through what we say and how we communicate is the biggest way that we influence each other. So if I take my time to influence you and try to tell you my religion is the best and here's why, and you decide to listen, well then we have both decided to spend our time in that manner. But if I spend my time telling you that how you see things is how you see them, and you are the only you that's ever going to be, and that you should try to be the best version of that person that you can. Did I waste my time? I don't think I did. Everybody has to make choices. Some of them are harder than others. You know, if you're standing there for half an hour trying to figure out if you want to drink milk or water, that may not have been the best use of your time. But if somebody truly needs your help right then and there, and you spend the next 5 minutes trying to figure out if you're going to give them your left hand or your right hand, pretty sure you're wasting both of your time at that point. Just help them. And sometimes people are going to be drowning and calling out for help, and they'll look you up and down and say, oh, not from you. That by no means, in no uncertain terms, means that you shouldn't help them at all. Okay, so they don't want you to reach out for them. Let someone know that they want the help. You know? I can honestly say that when I needed the help, in several instances, there wasn't anybody there. And I can also say there were times that I needed it, and I told people to leave me alone because it wasn't the person that I wanted the help from. And sometimes the people that need the help the most are going to be the ones that are most afraid to ask for it. You know, that's just the way that it ends up being. But, however that ends up breaking down, you got to remember one thing. As long as you try to do, well, I take that back. Yoda taught us do or do not, there is no try. And yeah, I quoted Yoda. A little bit of nerd came out there. As long as you put your best, let's see, how do I want to phrase that? Say put in your best effort, but no, that's not right. If you do what you know you can do, you won't fail. Because you knew you could. But that also goes into, you have to believe that you can. And unfortunately, we've got a lot of people that don't think they can do anything. And there's no reason to believe that. Everybody believes in someone. Sometimes all they need is to hear that you believe in them too. So if you can have faith in someone else, God, family, friends, and they can have a little bit of faith in you too, that's enough to move a mountain. Anyway, I guess I better give this back to the wife. She's been waiting on this camera for a while. Alright. Have a good one.